Very good morning to all. I hope I'm audible. A very good morning.
Yeah, you are audible.
Yes, sir. Okay. A very good morning. Welcome to the second day of 3 days online training program on impact of weather and air quality in the changing climate of Delhi and NCR. This training program is joint collaboration of National Institute of Disaster Management under Ministry of Home Affairs and Government of India and Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Combating of Climate Change, Pokhali, New Delhi. Today, for the session, we have with us Dr. Rajneesh Ranjan. Dr. Rajneesh Ranjan is an international practitioner, consultant, researcher, and educator, having over 20 years of experience in interdisciplinary um, research areas in disaster risk management, geosciences, environmental geosciences, and hydrology. Sir has also been the Vice President, Government Business and Disaster Management of SkyMed Weather Private Limited. Sir has also worked as a senior consultant, flood and river erosion in National Disaster Management Authority, Government of India, and apex policy decision body for disaster management in Government of India. So, without wasting much time, I would like to invite Sir, and I would like to give him the sharing rights. Sir, over to you.
Thank you very much, Aradhana, for inviting me for this lecture. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Dr. Shushma. Good morning, Dr. Ravinder Palakurti ji, coordinator of this program, and all participants. You know, it's indeed a matter of great pleasure for me to interact with you and to discuss with you about the changing weather and climatic pattern in terms of changing climate in Delhi NCR. Am I audible to all of you properly?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So, as you know, this is a 3-day program, today's second day program, and we are here to discuss with you about the enhancing vulnerabilities of disasters in changing climate. And I hope the fundamental concept has already been taken care of by Dr. Shushma. And I see the number of participants are still increasing. It's really 34. And I just wanted to have some idea about the language of discussion. Are you comfortable with English, or many of you are in Hindi medium? Can I have an idea about the language?
And, this is Dr. Palakurti.
Okay, good morning.
Yesterday when Dr. Sushma was digressing it into Hindi for few words, there were people who were asking to speak only in English.
Okay,
That kind of audience are there. You may mix it, but for the benefit of those who cannot understand Hindi, no?
Okay. No, I thought from Delhi NCR officers from the Delhi government, some of them might be, comfortable in Hindi. So I thought maybe that is, for them
You can
also.
mix it, but the thing is, southern part of India, the people who are representing from
Okay.
Choose.
Got it.
Just I am putting it to you. Thank you.
Okay, got it. Thank you very much. So I'll be talking about, in this session from till 12:45, I'll be speaking. And I'll be speaking and talking to you about some of the, important things on the weather and climate. Because, when we talk about the enhancing vulnerability of disasters, due to changing weather and climatic pattern, we have to take care of the fundamental concept also: the weather, the climate change, the climatic division in India, and many more things. So I'll be talking about the weather, the climatic zone, what makes climate change, and what is global warming, how they are impacting, what are the consequences of climate change, especially in our country, in India, and differences between global warming and climate change. And then I'll be talking you about the health impact also, some of the I'll touching upon. And then I'll be talking about the groundwater pollution, how they are impacting the climate change is impacting the groundwater quality as well as the quantity. and I'll be also talking to you about the the components of climate risk management components, and then I'll also touch upon some of the very practical, applicability at the grassroots level about the weather station. What is weather station? What is automated weather station, and how they are important for weather forecasting, for weather data sharing, and like that. And I'll be also talking to you about the some of the aspect of lightning and thunderstorms, and then air quality monitoring problem. Also, I'll be also talking about some of the data facts for Delhi NCR, how the climate is impacting the weather of Delhi and NCR. So before I will be sharing my presentation to all of you. If someone can allow me to share. So, is it visible to all of you? My screen is visible?
Yes, sir. Visible. Yeah.
Okay, fine. So, this is the topic. Just I'll give you a glimpses of that. And Dr. Susma must have talked about the fundamental concept about NIDM. I'm looking after e-learning division at NIDM, and NIDM is running some of the online courses also. There are 10 online courses in disaster management, and they are of different duration. The basic course is of 1.5 month duration, and the thematic is of 1 month duration. So you can also log on to the this web page of NIDM, like online.nidm.gov.in, and you can see the courses of your interest area, and you can find it. Different type of courses are there, and they are the basic courses: community-based disaster management, climate change, earthquake risk reduction, safe cities, gender aspects, damage and reconstruction need assessment, financial strategies, land use planning, risk analysis, and like that. So many courses are there. So this is for those who are interested in pursuing their interest area. No, so for that. Now coming to the point of the lecture. Number one is I have just explained to you what we are going to discuss in this program. And see, this is the difference between weather and climate. So the what is weather? Before talking about the climate change in Delhi NCR, na, you must understand about the weather, about the climate. No? So we always see about the weather news in nowadays, every news channel, every newspaper are full of, they have a fixed column of weather news, weather news, weather warning, weather alert, and like that. And they are much concerned about the weather condition in your vicinity, how they are impacting the locality in that. And in coming days, what could be the implications of weather or the changing weather pattern? So weather is the state of the atmosphere in one place at a specific moment. I mean, it's the state of the atmosphere. So when we talk about the atmosphere, na, we must think of the lower atmosphere. I mean, the biospheric part and the lower part of the troposphere. So 10 kilometer, below 10 kilometer of the height. So that is the lower atmosphere. So many of the atmospheric disturbances, atmospheric dynamism, are playing greater role in the lower atmosphere. So when we talk about the weather, no, so we have to take care of each and every disturbances, each and every kind of activities going on in the atmosphere, and that makes the weather of that particular area. So it's the state of the atmosphere at a one place. So it's not the universal. When we talk about the weather, no, you cannot say that the weather of Delhi and weather of Jammu and Kashmir, weather of Patna will be the same at any moment of time. No, because the weather must be changing, but not the climate. The climate is a part of the congregation, the complete, aggregate of the area. So we can say today is windy, rainy, huh? And the changes from one place to other of the weather pattern, that depends on the spatio-temporal condition of that area. So there are many factors also, but this second is that meteorologists use satellites to observe atmosphere and determine the daily weather condition. Weather data is also used to generate forecast. I'll be coming to you on that point also. And so this is about the weather. And when we talk about the climate, so climate is is a type of weather that characterizes a place in a considerable period of time. So you'll have to find out a considerable period of time within which there is a certain pattern of weather at a certain locality. So is a geographical area, a set geographical area, where in a considerable period of time you will find a constant weather is happening there, and that makes the area as a climatic area. You can see we say Mediterranean climate. Huh? So when we talk about the Mediterranean climate, so immediately you can come to the conclusion that the area which is having winter rainfall. So this is the typical of the Mediterranean climate. So whenever and wherever you go to the Mediterranean climate region, you will find there is a winter rainfall. So in India, the part of the Tamil Nadu and some part of the Gujarat pockets and some part of the Kerala, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh coast, they are having the Mediterranean climates. And also we have tropical rainforests where rainfall throughout the years there. So meteorologists require a considerable, when we talk about the considerable period of time, so we need to think of approx 30 years or, around 30 years to observe that there is a particular kind of climate is there. When we talk about the, okay, so when we talk about the India's climate zone, so similarly, there India is also divided into various climatic zones. So there are 6 climatic zones as divided by Köppen. Köppen has divided India into 6 climatic zones. That is under the climatic classification of India, and each characterizes a unique phenomena. When we talk about the mountain climate, it is there in the extra peninsular region, mostly in the mountainous region that covers Srinagar and all part of the Uttarakhand, Himachal, Sikkim, Arunachal Pradesh. So they are characterized by mountain type of climate. So similarly, there are humid subtropical, tropical, wet and dry, tropical wet, semi-arid, arid, or like that. So there is a set kind of climatic region in India. Now, when we talk about the elements of climate, so we must think of the certain elements like temperature, atmospheric pressure, precipitation, relative humidity, winds, ocean current, geology and geography. So, ये जो है ना, these are the elements that characterize a particular type of climate in a particular region. So when we talk about as I told you, so when we talk about the Mediterranean climate, so that means winter rainfall, and there is a set kind of temperature. A particular kind of temperature is prevailing in that area, and that makes the area the peculiar kind of climatic condition, right? So similarly, when we talk about the atmospheric pressure, also plays greater role. So these are some of the fact elements that characterize a climatic region. So what makes the climate change? So changes in the sun, changes in the Earth's orbit. So, before I proceed further, I would like to ask one question to all the participants that, can you cite one example where you have noticed a kind of climate peculiarity? Can anybody share his observation about this? Anybody? Am I audible to all of you?
Sir, you are audible.
So I would request
You may
participants to
also
come.
pose the question in Hindi, sir. Those who can answer, they would like to answer, because some people may be intimidated to answer in English.
ओके 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 सो ये बता सकते हैं क्लाइमेट की बात जब हम कर रहे हैं, अभी मैंने आपको बताया कि वी यूज टू फेस वी यूज टू कंसिडर क्लाइमेट फॉर अ पर्टिकुलर पीरियड ऑफ टाइम. सो क्लाइमेट पिक्यूलरिटी के बारे में अगर हम आपसे पूछे तो आप बता सकते हैं क्या? हाउ दे आर, व्हाट इज योर ऑब्जर्वेशन अबाउट द क्लाइमेट?
Anybody from the participants, please?
Okay, you can also write your observation in the chat box, because I want to make it interactive for all of you. Oh, that is, the aim of this program. So unless you are not making interactive, no, it's a one-way communication always. So see, the climate change की जब बात करते हैं ना, तो we need to think of the changes in the sun position, and different. So Lubna has written something, no? See. Lubna, you can speak also. I suppose you are. Lubna, you can speak also, if possible.
Miss Aradhana, please unmute him. They don't enjoy.
Okay, no problem. Now I can see. So Lubna has written, weather is the difference in elements of weather for short term, and climate is the difference in elements for weather for long term. Yes, exactly. So that's what I wanted to share with you, that now you just try to perceive in the real time scenario how you are perceiving that this is the climate change, this is the weather change, right? Just try to see and try to correlate with the real time scenario. So when you talk about the Delhi NCR, kindly try to observe that for the last 20 years and for the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, what changes have been observed in the climatic condition of Delhi NCR, right? So yes. So you have written weather is for 2-3 days. So not 2-3 days essentially. That can be of 1 week also. That's why we have the short term, medium term, and long term weather forecast. We talk about the weather forecast, no? So we talk about the short term weather forecast, long term weather forecast, medium term weather forecast, 15-day weather forecast is like that. So now if there is a change in the sun position, we can also see that that also impact climate change. So there is the changes in the Earth's orbit, also changes in the clouds condition, changes in the ice sheets, volcanic eruptions also create impact on the climate change, and changes in the gases in the atmosphere like greenhouse gases. तो ये जो factors है ना, some of the factors cause bigger changes in the climatic condition of that particular location. Some causes smaller changes, and some causes slower changes, some causes faster changes, some cause changes that last, for some period of time, some cause changes that go away very fast. So, but they all impact on the climate change. So now what is meant by climate change? We talk about the climate change all the time. Climate change is there. So there is an intergovernmental panel on climate change, IPCC. So IPCC defines climate change as a change in the, yes, you are right, Lubna. So a change in the state of the climate that can be identified using a statistical test by changes in the mean and or variability of its properties. And that persists for an extended period, typically decades or longer. So IPCC का ये definition है about the climate change. So state change in the state of the climate. सो हम जब बात करते हैं क्लाइमेट की ना, तो अभी भी जो भी क्लाइमेट है, ट्रॉपिकल रेन फॉरेस्ट की अगर बात करो, या फिर अगर आप बात करो, आप मेडिटेरेनियन की बात करो, या फिर वेट क्लाइमेट की बात करिए, ह्यूमिड सब ट्रॉपिकल क्लाइमेट की बात करो, माउंटेन टाइप ऑफ क्लाइमेट की बात करिए, तो अगर देखो, सी व्हेन वी टॉक अबाउट द माउंटेन टाइप क्लाइमेट ना, या tropical rainforest kind of climate, no? So you can distinctly see and observe the climate change there, no? Due to change in climate, no, the temperature pattern in changing in the mountain type of climate, right? So we are now facing that the glaciers are receding. Why? Because of the change in temperature, because of the change in the precipitation level, because of the change in the snowfall level there, you know. तो उसके कारण क्या है कि जो स्नो लाइन है वो नीचे की ओर जा रहा है, गर्मी बढ़ रही है। तो जब गर्मी बढ़ रही है तो वहां पे बिल्कुल वो आप पैटर्न देखेंगे, इनिशियली तो वेदर चेंज होता है, weather pattern. So Dr. Sandesh has also written something. So yes, I am happy Dr. Sandesh is also there in this program. So I'll come back to you. So due to that kind of change in the pattern of everything, precipitation, temperature, relative humidity, wind direction, wind speed, so you can see that there is a slowly changes are taking place, and that we call the climate change. मैं आपको बताऊं, I was visiting in Kashmir and was talking to the people, those who are cultivating saffron. सो सैफरॉन का जो जहाँ पे खेती हो रहा है, तो नाउ वहां पे कई जगहों पे लोगों ने ना अब सैफरॉन की खेती बंद कर दी है, कई एरियाज में, पुलवामा के एरियाज में, एंड सम ऑफ द एरियाज वेयर saffrons were cultivated for longer period of time. But what happened that due to change in the climate pattern, due to change in the temperature, precipitation, humidity, all combination of the pattern, ना, what happened ना, the saffron के जो बनते हैं pots, जो उनके ये होते हैं, या उनका जो growing है, जो quality है, that was deteriorating all the time. And all of a sudden they were facing a kind of torrential rainfall, a kind of frost condition everywhere, and that was greatly hampering the cultivation pattern. And the amount of cultivation was also decreasing. So see, when you talk about the climate change, so climate change is hampering the cultivation pattern, number one. Number two, when the cultivation pattern is being hampered, what is happening? The economy is being drastically impacted. No. तो उनका जो कल्टीवेशन पैटर्न, अब सैफरन की खेती ना करके अब वो लोग उस पर ग्रेन उगाने लगे। तो आप जब स्टडी करेंगे, व्हेन यू टॉक अबाउट द एग्रीकल्चरल पैटर्न इन कश्मीर ना, you will find a drastic change in the crop cultivation pattern being practiced by the Kashmiri people. So Kashmir Valley में अब जो पैटर्न है वो चेंज हो रहा है. Why? This is due to climate change. So with changing climate, now they are now facing difficulties in cultivating their traditional crop, and they have now shifted to. Similarly, when we talk about Delhi NCR, आप Delhi NCR के जो outer areas हैं, और Delhi NCR तो एक urban agglomeration है, right? So here we have to consider other factors also in addition to climate change also. So in summer this becomes heat island impact. So due to heat island impact, there is a uh, unpredictable rainfall all of a sudden happening, and that is also changing, impacting the pattern of crops in Delhi NCR. That I'll come to later. Now, a strong global scientific consensus is being made, is that the warming of the climate system is unequivocal and is caused by human activity, primarily the burning of fossil fuels, which releases greenhouse gases into the atmosphere. So, burning of fossil fuel is also one of the prime factor that is impacting climate in that particular location. तो जितना ज्यादा फॉसिल फ्यूल को वो बर्न करेंगे, जितना ज्यादा आप, तो ये आप देखिए, दैट इज आल्सो लिंक्ड विद द डेवलपमेंटल प्लानिंग. So when we talk about the development, urban development, industrial development, or the agricultural development and economic development as a whole, so we have to utilize all the means. and burning of fossil fuel is one of the prime kind of ingredient for such kind of development. So due to that fossil fuel burning, the greenhouse gases are increasing in the atmosphere. And not only that, there are other factors also that is contributing the impact in the atmosphere. I'll come to that point. So IPCC in its importance, I'll just touch upon. So IPCC was established by the World Meteorological Organization and United Nations Environmental Program in 1988. So what is the role of IPCC? इसका रोल क्या है? इसका रोल ये है कि to assess the world's published scientific literature on how human-induced changes to the lower atmosphere via the emission of greenhouse gases have influenced and are likely to influence the world climatic pattern. So जो greenhouse gases है GHG, how they are impacting the lower atmosphere और किस तरह से कहाँ क्या इसका स्पाशियल वेरिएशन क्या है, टेम्पोरल वेरिएशन क्या है, ये हमें देखने की जरूरत है. और यहाँ से फिर पूरी पूरी कहानी शुरू हो जाती है पूरी वर्ल्ड लेवल पे, हाउ द पीपल आर रिएक्टिंग टू द emission of greenhouse gases and how they are making an interplay, and every year there is a lot of struggle in the decision and between developed countries and developing countries. On one hand, developed countries says that okay, we have the developmental plan, that's why we are releasing greenhouse gases, whereas the developing countries are releasing GHG in a lower amount, but they have to face a lot of repercussions. you know so the kind of dynamism is playing greater role, and the more you will dig inside the concept of this greenhouse gases and climate change, you will find so many pearls there. You'll find so many knowledge materials there on greenhouse gases. I'll request all of you to go through the IPCC recommendations also, the COP 21st recommendations also, and you'll find a number of informative things there. And second is how this does and in future would affect various systems and processes important to human societies, and the range of economic and social response options available to policymakers to avert climate change and to lessen its impact. So IPCC का रोल बहुत important हो जाता है. Now, what is global warming? When we talk about the global warming, so it's a kind of the warming of our atmosphere, in fact, lower atmosphere. So when we are burning fossil fuels like coal, while natural gases and like that, no. So we are in a way increasing the temperature in the lower atmosphere. And traditionally it could happen कि जो heat है जो हम जो निकालते हैं वो लोअर एटमॉस्फेयर से बाहर निकल जाना चाहिए था, but at the same time they are prevented to be expelled out of the atmosphere, and they are increasing the temperature in the lower atmosphere, and that is called the global warming. So the temperature is increasing due to that. So what is the difference between global warming and climate change? So global warming is the increase of the Earth's average surface temperature due to a buildup of greenhouse gases in the atmosphere. And what is climate change is a broader term that refers to long-term change in the climate, including average temperature and precipitation. सो ये सारा खेल जो आप देख रहे हैं ना क्लाइमेट चेंज का, ये इन्हीं फैक्टर्स पे मैंने आपको बताया ना, ये एलिमेंट्स जो है ना, इसके पहले का जो मैंने आपको एलिमेंट्स बताया, एलिमेंट्स ऑफ क्लाइमेट, ये इस पे वो सारी चीजें आधारित है, सारा खेल इस पे आधारित है. और ये आप जितना इसको अप्लाई करते चलेंगे, ये सारा कॉम्बिनेशन है, जहां जितने भी ज्यादा इम्पैक्ट्स को आप बात करेंगे ना, all are related to such kind of elements. So I was also visiting there in बुंदेलखंड ना, तो बुंदेलखंड के किसानों से मैं बात कर रहा था कि what is their agricultural pattern and how they are adapted to climate change. तो उनका कहना था कि जो उनका जो क्रॉपिंग पैटर्न है, जो सोइंग एंड हार्वेस्टिंग का जो पीरियड है ना, दैट हैज बीन चेंज नाउ इन बुंदेलखंड. बुंदेलखंड जो उत्तर प्रदेश का है, जो थोड़ा अंडर डेवलप्ड एरिया है, वहां पे क्या है कि पहले लोग सोइंग करते थे, जो जिस जिस क्रॉप्स का जो सोइंग चलता था सितंबर में, अगस्त सितंबर के बाद ना, आफ्टर द रेनफॉल प्रेसिपिटेशन ना, वो क्या है कि प्रेसिपिटेशन अब जो पीरियड है वो अब सितंबर अक्टूबर चला गया सोइंग का, एंड सो इज द पीरियड ऑफ हार्वेस्टिंग आल्सो, वो जो पीरियड है वो भी आगे बढ़ गया। तो कई जगहों पे जब आप स्टडी करेंगे ना, यू विल फाइंड दैट द सोइंग एंड हार्वेस्टिंग पीरियड हैज बीन शिफ्टेड नाउ, एंड दैट इज ड्यू टू क्लाइमेट चेंज। So burning of fossil fuel also creating pollution from coal, natural gas and oil. और दिल्ली एनसीआर में तो ये एक बहुत ही पेट टॉपिक है डिस्कशन का। ऑल द टाइम वी टॉक अबाउट द stubble burning, all the time we talk about the emission, we talk about the pollution level here. I'll come to that point also again. So what are some of the effects of global warming on agriculture? So you can just have a look on this. So you will find it familiar to your knowledge. No, there are increased frequency of weather extremes. अभी आप देखते होंगे साल में पिछले 8-10 सालों में जिस तरह से वेदर एक्सट्रीम्स बढ़ा है सारा हमारे लोकेलिटी में, जिस तरह से हमारा द प्रेसिपिटेशन का नंबर ऑफ रेनी डेज हैव बीन डिक्रीज्ड, but the amount of rainfall, the frequency and the intensity of precipitation has increased. So that is causing the weather anomalies in every area. So increased frequency of weather extremes, storms, flooding, droughts are there. So longer growing seasons in cool areas are there. The increase of incidence of pests and vector-borne diseases. अभी आप देखेंगे, अभी बहुत ही इसकी चर्चा चल रही है कि जो जो पेस्ट एंड वेक्टर बॉर्न डिजीज है वो बहुत ज्यादा प्रिवलेंट हो रहा है। जो एग्रीकल्चरल एरिया से ताल्लुक रखते होंगे उनको ये पता होगा कि ये एक बहुत चिंता का विषय है कि जो जो टेम्परेचर एंड प्रेसिपिटेशन एंड रिलेटिव ह्यूमिडिटी का जो कॉम्बिनेशन है इज ए typical change in the combination of such kind of elements, no, that is creating unusual scenario, and thereby increasing the incidence of pests. फिर क्या है, लॉस ऑफ डाइवर्सिटी इन फ्रेजाइल इन्वायरमेंट्स। ट्रॉपिकल फॉरेस्ट में जाएंगे तो वहां पे प्रॉब्लम हो रही है। लॉस ऑफ फर्टाइल कोस्टल लैंड्स दैट इज कॉजिंग बाय दिस राइजिंग सी लेवल। क्या हो रहा है, सी लेवल राइज करेगा, व्हाट विल हैपन, the water will go to the low lying area, the sea water, and that will increase the salinity से क्या हो जाएगा, the land become infertile, and there are dramatic changes in the distribution and quantities of fishes and seafoods also. So every often you can see in the social media, there are unbelievable things happening in the coastal region or and in the nearby sea, that has not happened earlier. So more unpredictable farming conditions in tropical areas is also there. So this kind of long-term fluctuation in weather patterns, would have extreme impacts on agricultural production, so crop yields, and they are forcing farmers to adopt new agricultural practices in response to altered condition. तो आप देखिए कितना चेंजेस आ रहा है इससे, क्लाइमेट चेंज से। क्लाइमेट चेंज होते ही आप देखेंगे कि जो भी एग्रीकल्चरल पैटर्न है वो चेंज होगा। उससे क्या होगा, किसानों में एक एक नए चैलेंजेस आएंगे, और दे विल शिफ्ट टू द चेंज पैटर्न ऑफ क्रॉपिंग इन दैट पर्टिकुलर एरिया। तो आने वाले दिनों में हो सकता है जो पैटर्न है क्रॉप का वो बिल्कुल चेंज हो जाए। तो क्रॉपिंग पैटर्न चेंज होने से क्या होगा कि एंटायर इकोसिस्टम हैज टू बी चेंज्ड ड्यू टू दैट। So this is kind of thing. When we talk about the average global temperature on Earth is increasing, statistics says that is increasing by about 0.8 degrees centigrade since 1880, and two-thirds of the warming has occurred since 1975 at a rate of roughly 0.15 to 0.20 degrees centigrade per decade. So you can see the impact. This is the animation of the changes from 1884 to 2015. नाउ when we talk about the, अभी तो बात की हमने एग्रीकल्चर की, अब बात करते हैं अर्बनाइजेशन की। तो अर्बनाइजेशन इज आल्सो वन ऑफ द प्राइम फैक्टर इन टर्म्स ऑफ क्लाइमेट चेंज। तो इंडिया इज वेल नोन फॉर द रूरल पॉपुलेशन, but its urban population is also growing faster and is expected to reach by 800 million by mid of this century. It's a study. सो ऐसा माना जा रहा है कि जो अर्बन एंड रूरल पॉपुलेशन का जो डिकेडल पॉपुलेशन ग्रोथ है इज शोइंग द रिलेटिवली हायर ग्रोथ especially in the urban area. You can see this is the satellite picture from the NASA. I have taken from the Google, and that shows the changing pattern of urbanization from 1991 to 2016, right? So you can see the changes in the urbanization pattern. So this violet color shows the urbanization and how the urbanization has changed and expanded in the fringe area of Delhi NCR. So you can clearly see the changes, right? And so similarly, we talk about 91 to 2016. What will happen after 1 decade more? So maybe some other areas will be expanded. And what will happen? That will again impact on the climatic pattern of Delhi NCR, isn't it? तो अभी भी आप मैं वैसे चर्चा करूंगा कि अभी भी आप दिल्ली एनसीआर में जो लोग एनसीआर में रहते हैं when they used to come out to Delhi, तो every year in the month of June, July, August, after the onset of the rainfall of the monsoon, you will feel कि जो लोग आनंद विहार से उधर रहते हैं वैशाली गाजियाबाद के एरिया में, those who are living in Delhi, they might have seen the distinct pattern of rainfall, intensity as well as the onset duration of rainfall. No? In Delhi NCR area, in Ghaziabad area, there are, the precipitation is lesser as compared to Delhi. In Delhi, there are, the one is the torrential rainfall is occurring every time during monsoon. And second is the intensity of rainfall is very huge, getting very huge day by day, every year. So, what is the extreme consequences? Urban flooding, associated disasters also every year. तो urban flooding is gaining momentum. पहले हम बात करते थे रिवराइन फ्लडिंग की, फिर कोस्टल फ्लडिंग की बात करते थे, फिर ग्लॉफ की बात करते थे. ये अर्बन फ्लडिंग हमारे हमारे अटेंशन का एरिया नहीं था पहले. बट फॉर द लास्ट 5 years, 5 to 8 years, जिस तरह से अर्बन फ्लडिंग्स बढ़ रहे हैं, एवरी ईयर द इंसिडेंसेस ऑफ अर्बन फ्लडिंग एवरीवेयर इन द कंट्री इज इंक्रीजिंग. जहां भी जाइए अब अर्बन फ्लडिंग के चर्चे हो रहे हैं. सो दिस इज द डिस्टिंक्ट consequences of the climate change, urban flooding. So climate change and urban flooding has the direct relation. So difficult to attribute a single event to climate change, but overall risk is appears to be increasing. Why? The rising global mean temperature. हाँ, अगर ऐसा हो रहा है तो उससे क्या होगा? There'd be altered precipitation pattern. फिर क्या होगा? एटमॉस्फेरिक सर्कुलेशन में चेंजेस आएंगे. और जो मेन जो इम्पैक्ट है, the prime impact would be on the changes in the hydrological cycle. तो hydrological cycle है, वो अगर डिस्टर्ब हो गया तो you should prepare to see more drastic changes in the precipitation pattern, and that will create flood drought condition every time. The second is the rising sea level. When we talk about the rising sea level, so the entire game would be shifting to the coastal areas, the coastal cities. So runoff in the coastal cities will be due to the extreme rainfall events, and that will also create coastal flooding we talk about. तो अभी जो कोस्टल एरियाज में जो स्मार्ट सिटीज है बन रहे हैं, हाँ, लाइक काकीनाडा स्मार्ट सिटीज. So they are mostly relying on the weather information, weather-based early warning system, weather-based forecasting, to prevent their cities to extreme weather events. तो कभी साइक्लोन आता है, कभी thunderstorms आते हैं, कभी lightning incidences होते हैं, and sometimes there is a threat of urban flooding also. So they are more concerned about such kind of things, because ultimately they are impacting on the developmental policy planning in that area. So they are directly linked with the development, and they are impacting on the economic progress. तो जब आप मॉनेटरी टर्म में बात कर रहे हैं तो आपकी चिंता और ज्यादा बढ़ जाती है कि आपका जो मॉनेटरी लॉस हो रहा है एवरी ईयर ड्यू टू डिजास्टर्स, ड्यू टू क्लाइमेट चेंज इम्पैक्ट, that could have been reduced by adopting some measures. Then higher percentage of category 4 and category 5 cyclones are there. Every year you are facing cyclonic condition in the area. More instances of heavy precipitation combined with higher storm surge is there due to cyclone. Now coming to urban heat island impact is the rainfall. So rising heat and cloud formation in a particular pocket of the urban agglomeration is causing the urban heat island impact. तो अर्बन हीट आइलैंड इम्पैक्ट के कारण क्या होता है, एक पूरा अर्बन लोकालिटी इज यू नो बिहेव्स लाइक ए हीट चैम्बर. तो आप में से कौन बताएंगे कोई एग्जांपल दिल्ली एनसीआर का कि जो आपको लगता है कि वो अर्बन हीट आइलैंड है? Anybody can give example about the urban heat island you have experienced with your senses? Can anybody? Yeah, Aradhana, can you unmute Dr. Sandesh? You want to share something? Aradhana, can you unmute Dr. Sandesh? Aradhana. Hello. Aradhana, may I request?
Seems she's not in live program. Maybe busy
Hello.
somewhere else. We may request Dr. Sandesh Yadav to please type his reflection.
Okay. Please, Dr. Sandesh, you can type here in the chat box. So that may not be possible to unmute. Okay, I'll see your point. Oh, so about the urban heat island impact, when we talk about the urban heat island impact, so the the weather turbulence, we talk about the weather turbulence, na, is happening, it happens every time in such kind of urban heat island. CP area and south, CP area who has written, and yes. Surrounding rural area. Lubna has returned due to human activities. Good, very good point. CPN, South Delhi area. No, South Delhi area is to somehow they are having more vegetation. Uh, you must have seen the Silampur area, where kind of emission is there. More emission is there. The industrial area of Delhi, just focus on that area where the emission is more. Where the pocket of transportation is huge, the more load on the transportation is there. So emission would be more there, isn't it? So what will happen? The weather turbulence will be more active there in that position, in that area. Okay, anyway. So just try to, मेरा ये aim ये था ना कि आप इसको सोचिए इस पे, and you can find out the urban heat island pockets in Delhi NCR, and this could also be those who are the researcher in this training program also. They have they can get it as a food for thought. Yes. Land surface temperature, yes, you are right. But not, this is not the sole cause of that. There are other factors also, Dr. Sandesh. Due to, you have written, a major cause of urban UHI is the increase in land surface temperature due to increase in the built-up and decreased vegetation cover. Good, very good point. But there are other factors also that aggravates the impact of heat island there in that region. Good points. All are very good points. Yes. ACs and other emissions are also not only AC. Talk about the fridge. You are using fridge, AC, washing machine, every kind. There are some kind of invisible emission also which are not visible to you, but they are creating. That's why जस्ट इमेजिन ना, अभी आज के दिनों में ना आपके घर में जो जो एयर प्यूरिफायर आकर बैठ गया है, व्हाई? बिकॉज ऑफ इंडोर एयर पॉल्यूशन. So indoor air pollution is also gaining, attention to the people, and that's why we are using air purifier now. Why? Because अगर आप देखिए अभी क्या है कि आप जैसे घड़ी देखकर आपको लगता है आपका स्ट्रेस लेवल मॉर्निंग में कैसे बढ़ता है जब व्हेन यू आर अबाउट टू लीव फॉर योर ऑफिस you see the watch is going 8:30 9 o'clock and you are getting late for your office. That is increasing your stress level, right? So at the same time अगर आप अपने घर में अगर आप infrared are also okay. So अगर आप अपने घर में लगाते हैं उस तरह का एयर क्वालिटी मॉनिटरिंग मशीन, that will give you an idea about the increased indoor air pollution like PM 2.5, PM 10, like that, how they're increasing, and other gases are also increasing in your houses. So what will happen? You will feel stressed. You will feel कि okay, indoor air pollution भी है कुछ ऐसा जो अब तक हम लोगों को नहीं पता था, है ना? So I'll give just one example ना कि जब आप घर में हैं और when you are worshipping in your पूजा घर, तो आप जो वहाँ पे धूप जलाते हैं, अगरबत्ती जलाते हैं, तो अगर इफ यू हैपन टू हैव योर ओन नो AQI मशीन सेंसर अगर आपने घर में लगा रखा है, एंड दैट गिव्स यू एन इंडिकेशन अबाउट द इंक्रीजिंग PM 2.5 PM 10, तो आप देखेंगे जैसे ही आपने घर में धूप जलाया ना, वो बढ़कर मोर देन 200 पहुंच जाता है, 200 से भी ऊपर पहुंच जाता है. that that give you an idea about that. So what will happen? That gives you the alarming condition. Yes, correct, Dr. Sandesh. So this is a topic of major research for the all those who are the researcher. आप ना Delhi NCR में identify कीजिए कि those are the pockets of urban heat island and how they are creating increasing the temperature in the vicinity of that area. And not only that, दिल्ली एनसीआर का एक कैरेक्टरिस्टिक्स क्या है आपको ना, आप देखेंगे कि अर्बन माइग्रेशन है, रूरल अर्बन माइग्रेशन की बात करते हैं. So the migration is more in the cities, urban cities. And also when we talk about the daily migration of from the adjoining area to the main Delhi, so what will happen? At certain period of time, the main Delhi region is flooded with the people, those who have come from the NCR to work in a certain pocket, in a certain locality. And they are, they have combined to increase the emission level in that particular location. No, that is also to be considered, and that is also one of the research point. So due to high degree of urbanization, due to high degree of rural urban migration, due to high degree of daily migration, diurnal migration, so the kind of factors are aggregating to impact the urban heat island impact. So this is the urban flooding: Mumbai 2005, Surat 2006, Kolkata 2007, Jamshedpur 2008. So the list is endless. ये तो मैंने आपको जस्ट दिया है. जयपुर 2012, चेन्नई 2015, श्रीनगर 14. आप सभी जगहों पे देखेंगे फ्लडिंग जो है ना, वो दो कारण उसमें मेन है. वन इज द प्रेसिपिटेशन, the anomaly of precipitation number, and second is the drainage problem. The surface runoff is not getting drained properly, and that's why they are creating flooding in that particular location. And second one is the first one is the rainfall behavior, the rainfall pattern, the amount and the intensity and the duration of the rainfall. तो तीन चीजें हो गई: ड्यूरेशन ऑफ द रेनफॉल, अमाउंट ऑफ द रेनफॉल, एंड द इंटेंसिटी ऑफ द रेनफॉल. ये तीनों का फैक्टर है ना, वो अर्बन फ्लडिंग को ड्रास्टिकली इम्पैक्ट करता है. यस, यू आर राइट डॉक्टर संदेश. अर्बन एरियाज का ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है, अर्बन फ्लडिंग. तो अर्बन फ्लडिंग के कारण क्या है, अभी गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया हैज आल्सो emphasized more on giving attention to urban flooding, and NDMA has made some guidelines on urban flooding also, and they have suggested all the state governments to adopt some measures, preventive measures for urban flooding also. So it's like that. And second is, you can see what is happening due to climate change is number of cold waves increasing gradually. So you can see the distinct changes you can see right from 1901 to 1911 to 1968, then 1978. and now I have a data of 1901 to 1999. So you can see the cold waves, how they are increasing in some pockets like Madhya Pradesh, Maharashtra, Jammu Kashmir, Himachal Pradesh, Punjab, Gujarat, Saurashtra, Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, West Bengal. So mostly cold waves are, you can see, excluding Maharashtra, mostly are confined to the extra-peninsular and Indo-Gangetic Plain region, right? So Rajasthan, Gujarat, and Kutch is also one of the area. So you can see mostly they are confined to a certain pockets. So what I mean to say is that the number of cold waves are also increasing gradually. Heat waves are also on the rise. हीट वेव तो अब एक बहुत ही बर्निंग टॉपिक हो गया है हमारे देश में ना. एवरी टाइम इन समर यू विल फील द अबाउट द हीट वेव्स आल्सो. तो हीट वेव्स की भी कंडीशंस में भी वेस्ट बंगाल, बिहार, उत्तर प्रदेश, राजस्थान एंड गुजरात एरिया आर इन द हायर पोजीशन. Then increase and decrease in the frequency of rain days during 1901 to 2005 का डेटा है हमारे पास, पुराना डेटा है, but that give you an idea about how they are changing. So the one very important point is that the number of rainy days are reducing over most part of the country. Rainy days कम हो रहे हैं. But on the other hand, the number of rainy days are increasing in some pockets of peninsular India, especially over Andhra Pradesh and some part of Karnataka. So the South India का जो part है ना, they are facing more, rainy days and thereby creating flooding in that pockets. On the other hand, increase and decrease in the frequency of heavy rainfall days. So number of heavy rainfall days are increasing over most part of the country, and extreme rainfall and flood risks are increasing significantly in the country, except some part of the central North India. तो ये जो है ना, एक बैकग्राउंड, एक रीजन है. आप जो हम बात करते हैं अर्बन फ्लडिंग की, रेनफॉल की, तो ये जो पैटर्न है ना, हमें समझने की जरूरत है. और ये इस पैटर्न को समझने के लिए हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा? You have to understand about the changing monsoon and rainfall pattern. How they are changing. Number one is the erratic behavior of monsoon in recent period. How monsoon is changing. How there is unusual rainfall in some of the localized pockets, localized areas. There's an unusual rainfall. So पहले हम राजस्थान की बात ही नहीं करते थे जब रेनफॉल की बात होती थी ना. तो व्हाट वाज हैपनिंग अर्लियर ना, ड्यू टू अरावली के ओरिएंटेशन के कारण जो रेनफॉल, जो मानसून जो मूव करता था ना, दे वो that monsoon was not being obstructed by the Aravali. They were moving adjacent to the Aravali. That was the reason why Rajasthan was not getting monsoonal precipitation. But what has been happening in the recent past is alarming. You know, what is the reason of Bikaner flood, Barmer flood? Was due to the unusual precipitation pattern in that area, localized area. So that is a matter of great concern. Then delayed monsoon is there. El Nino and La Nina impact is there. You must be knowing. El Nino is also one of the prime factor of the delayed monsoon in the Indian subcontinent. क्योंकि बारिश बेचारा वो लेकर आता है उधर से, ऑस्ट्रेलियन रीजन से, due to from the high pressure to low pressure, and after crossing the equator due to Coriolis impact, the monsoon is supposed to fall in the Kerala coast and other part of the country. But due to El Nino impact क्या होता है कि जो लो प्रेशर एरिया उसको बढ़ना चाहिए इंडियन सब कॉन्टिनेंट में, जिसको अट्रैक्ट होकर वो आया वो ऑस्ट्रेलिया से, दैट लो प्रेशर एरिया इज फाइंड इट्स प्लेस इन द ओशन, इन द पैसिफिक रीजन, और वो बारिश जो है वो समुद्र में ही कर देता है. And that's the reason why the monsoon is delayed in the Indian subcontinent. So it's a big topic of El Nino and La Nina. You must go through Google. Then there are increasing incidences of cloud burst. It's also one of the major concerns in the country. Cloud burst जो है बहुत ज्यादा हो रहे हैं हमारे देश में, जो कि चिंता का विषय है. और cloud burst के कारण especially in the mountainous region, huge devastation occurs every year. You know, और इसका क्वांटिफिकेशन अभी हो नहीं पा रहा है, बट व्हेन इट इज क्वांटिफाइड द डेटा में भी अलार्मिंग. for the country development. Then there are also increasing lightning and thunderstorm events. Lightning के cases बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ गए हैं देश में. अभी lightning पे देश में चर्चा होने लगी है. आपने देखा होगा कि जिस एरिया में पहले भी lightning होती नहीं थी, now they are also experiencing lightning event. And due to lightning, number of casualties are increasing day by day. जहाँ भी कारण क्या है, उनका अवेयरनेस लेवल नहीं है. उन्हें ज्यादा जो मोस्टली जो से इम्पैक्टेड होते हैं लाइटनिंग से, दे आर द पुअर पीपल, द फार्मर्स, those who are the laborers, those who are working in the field area, and all of a sudden lightning strikes take place and they are gone away. तो उन्हें बताने के लिए अभी एक सिस्टम बनाने की जरूरत है ताकि उनका अवेयरनेस लेवल बढ़े. दे कैन हैव ए बेटर कम्युनिकेशन सिस्टम टू नो अबाउट द incidences of lightning, what is going to happen. तो अभी मैं इस पे चर्चा करूंगा आपके साथ. Now coming to the health impact of the kind of lightning, the kind of changes. What is health impact? One is that how weather impact heals. One is the changes in the temperature. Like temperature change अगर हो रहा है तो उसके कारण क्या क्या health impact होंगे. One is the skin diseases. Then infection, respiratory problem is there. Flu, cough, cold. अभी तो pandemic के कारण you can see distinctly see the impact, ना, how they are impacting the people. So due to weather impact, na, many people are facing great difficulties in terms of respiratory problems and other diseases. Then due to localized torrential rainfall, urban flooding may cause with waterborne disease, accidents, right? Thermal discomfort. Yes, yes. I'll come to that point also, Dr. Sandesh. Then urban flooding may cause waterborne disease, accidents, drowning cases are also increasing. So what happens now due to high flood situation in the river areas? What happens कि आप देखते होंगे बोट कोलैप्सेस के केसेस बढ़ जाते हैं बहुत ज्यादा. हाँ, ड्राउनिंग के केसेस बढ़ते हैं ना, स्नेक बाइट्स के केसेस बढ़ते हैं, राइट. एंड देन वाटर बॉर्न डिजीजेस तो है ही है. देन व्हाट अबाउट चेंजेस इन द ह्यूमिडिटी. Agricultural loss may cause food scarcity, respiratory disease, skin disease also. ह्यूमिडिटी प्लेज ऑल्सो. हम बात करते हैं टेम्परेचर की, हम बात करते हैं रेनफॉल की, अक्सर बात करते हैं लोग जो आम लोग हैं. लेकिन जब कुछ कुछ चीजें ऐसी हैं जो हम हमारे सारे चेन को इनडायरेक्टली इम्पैक्ट करती है, लाइक ह्यूमिडिटी. हम ह्यूमिडिटी की जो बात करते हैं ना, तो ह्यूमिडिटी पैटर्न ऑल्सो ड्रास्टिकली क्रिएट्स इम्पैक्ट ऑन द एग्रीकल्चरल पैटर्न. एक सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ ह्यूमिडिटी होगा तभी आपका कॉटन होगा, या सर्टेन काइंड ऑफ ह्यूमिडिटी होगा तभी जितने भी क्रॉप्स है ना उनका ग्रोथ जो है इंश्योर होता है, अदरवाइज नो. सो काइंड ऑफ ह्यूमिडिटी, और कई क्रॉप्स ऐसे हैं ऑफ कोर्स कि अगर ह्यूमिडिटी ज्यादा हो गया तो दे आर लॉस्ट, दे आर गॉन. So the kind of humidity also impacts on the food pattern, the scarcity, agricultural losses. Then what about the wind anomaly? Wind direction and wind speed also one of the factor that causes thunderstorm, cyclone, onshore and offshore, leading to disasters. And the prime thing is air pollution. विंड anomaly के कारण जो होते हैं जो impact वो है एयर पॉल्यूशन. एयर पॉल्यूशन के कारण रेस्पिरेटरी प्रॉब्लम्स तो है ही, यू मस्ट ऑल बी नोइंग. So there are three main pathways through which climate change may impact human health. One is the direct impact. Second is the impact on the existing diseases. And third one is the indirect impact. Right. So when we talk about the direct impact of the climate change due to climate extreme is heat wave, cold wave, drought, heavy rain, cloudburst, floods, urban flooding, cyclonic storms. तो ये डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट है. सो इम्पैक्ट किस पे होगा? थ्री फैक्टर्स पे इम्पैक्ट डिपेंड करता है. वन इज द पॉपुलेशन, कितना वल्नरेबिलिटी है, एंड व्हाट इज द कैपेसिटी ऑफ दैट कम्युनिटी टू अडेप्ट टू चेंजिंग क्लाइमेट. तो ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है ना कि आपकी कैपेसिटी कितनी है टू अडेप्ट. तो तभी हम बात करते हैं क्लाइमेट चेंज एडेप्टेशन की. वी टॉक अबाउट द एडेप्टेशन की. अब क्लाइमेट तो चेंज होगा, यू कैन नॉट प्रिवेंट क्लाइमेट टू चेंज. but you can adapt yourself, your community, to take care of the changing climate condition or the anomalies. So that is impact on the country. So केस नंबर 1 क्या है इसमें डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट में मैं बताना चाहता हूं आपको. वन इज इट दैट द लो एंड मीडियम इनकम कंट्रीज वाले जो देश हैं वहां क्या है, दे आर लेस कंट्रीब्यूटिंग टू जीएचजी ग्रीन हाउस गैसेस, बट दे हैव हाई पॉपुलेशन. हाँ, तो जब हाई पॉपुलेशन है, लेस कंट्रीब्यूट कर रहे हैं, बट आपका जो कंट्रीब्यूशन है वो बहुत लेस है जीएचजी का, बट एट द सेम टाइम you are having high population, high consumption of fossil fuel. What will happen? Your vulnerability will be high. Whereas in high income countries, क्या है? You are contributing more to GHG, but low population है, high capacity है to adapt. Then what will happen? Their vulnerability is low. तो आप देखिए, even if they are contributing more to greenhouse gases, but they are less vulnerable, right? तो इसके कारण क्या हो गया कि vulnerability is depending on the kind of adaptation. So again, the heat wave is causing again the mortality and morbidity due to heat waves and heat stress. Dr. Sandesh, we were talking about this, no temperature. So this is the kind of thing. Heat stress is also there. Body temperature more than 38 डिग्री टेम्परेचर अगर हो जाएगा तो क्या इम्पैक्ट होगा? हीट एग्जॉस्शन हो जाएगी आपकी. फिजिकल एंड कॉग्निटिव फंक्शंस आर इम्पेयर्ड, राइट. अगर बॉडी टेम्परेचर हो जाती है मोर देन 40.6 डिग्री सेंटीग्रेड, दिस आई हैव टेकन फ्रॉम अ मेडिको प्रोफेशनल who was suggesting me this kind of thing. So body temperature अगर more than 40.6 degree centigrade अगर आपका हो जाता है तो there are chances of organ damage, then loss of consciousness, deaths, circulatory collapse also may happen, right? So जब आप हीट वेव के कंडीशन में अगर आप हैं, बीइंग ए डिजास्टर मैनेजर, तो इन चीजों को आप ध्यान रखिए कि अगर प्रिवेलिंग टेम्परेचर अगर 38 या बिलो है, तो अगर कोई कोई बंदा अगर कोलैप्स करता है तो यू कैन अंडरस्टैंड कि दैट इज ड्यू टू हीट एग्जॉस्शन, or what needs to be taken care of immediately. No, and at the temperature of 40.6 degree and more, no, you can think of that there are chances of organ damage. So they are immediately rushed to hospital quickly. Then children and elderly are more vulnerable due to increased urbanization, increased temperature, urban heat impact, heat to stress. So they all are interlinked. When we talk about the floods and urban flooding due to direct impact, so uh, the vulnerability again increased due to floods are because floods are recurring event in India every time it is happening. So due to climate change impact, the heavy rainfall in a shorter period takes place, and what happens due to inundation, there are so many kind of disaster happens in the community, and there are also impacts like health impact hoga, food scarcity, drowning, infections, hypothermia. So in the month of monsoon, you can see this kind of disasters happening. Then coming to thunderstorm and lightning, they are increased due to climate change, it is supposed, and they are now, it is believed that they are directly linked with the climate change now, the thunderstorm and lightning, and they are also causing serious health impact. Drought is again one of the important direct impact that occurs due to deficit in precipitation in arid region. Then there are chronic health impacts also due to drought. You all are aware about that. Malnutrition ho jayega, diarrhea, cholera, reduced birth weight, psychosocial stress, mental health disorder, like that. And UV radiation is also happening during high heat condition. So this is also one of the important point I have mentioned, air pollution. Due to air pollution, stratospheric ozone depletion is there, and due to that, increased exposure of UV radiation takes place, and that causes skin damage, skin cancer, cataract in the eye is also are some of the consequences. So now coming to second point is about the climate change impact on existing diseases. हाँ, जो existing diseases है हमारे देश में, like vector borne disease, they're the global killer. Example, malaria, dengue, chikungunya, encephalitis, swine flu, right? So there are so many kind of things happening in the country. When we talk about the Bihar, there are other kind of encephalitis also there. बच्चों में जो है चमकी हम बोलते हैं ना वहाँ पे. Similarly in Kerala, the kind of bird flu is there. The kind of so the existing diseases are also there, and they are very 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 concerned. Water and foodborne diseases also are there, then air quality also. So they are impacting on the existing diseases. Existing diseases. There are indirect impact also of climate change, nutrition, occupational health, and mental health. आप इन तीनों में से कौन एग्जाम्पल बताएंगे? डॉक्टर संदेश, डॉक्टर लुबना. Just send me the example in the chat box. Okay, I'll continue and then we'll come to your point also. Then we have the groundwater scarcity. No. Then groundwater scarcity is also, and not only groundwater scarcity, groundwater pollution is also a very important thing when we talk about the climate change. तो अभी ग्राउंड वाटर का जो 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 एक जो फील्ड है इज ह्यूज एरिया which has the great concern in terms of quality, in terms of quantity, in some terms of the per capita availability and spatio-temporal variation of the groundwater table also. So that plays greater role in food and water security in India. The sustainable use of groundwater sources is the key for the future. तो जो सस्टेनेबल यूज हम करते हैं ग्राउंड वाटर रिसोर्सेज का ना, इज ऑल्सो वन ऑफ द इंडिकेटर ऑफ द एसडीजी सस्टेनेबल डेवलपमेंट गोल. तो ग्राउंड वाटर रिसोर्सेज का सस्टेनेबल यूज जो है ना अभी बहुत जरूरी हो गया है. कई एरिया है ऐसे, मैं अभी वही नीचे आ रहा हूँ कि विड्रॉवल इज मोर देन रिचार्ज ना, द जोन ऑफ सैचुरेशन मे बिकम जोन ऑफ एरेशन. हाँ, ये बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट पॉइंट मैं आपके साथ शेयर कर रहा हूँ कि जहां जहां पे विड्रॉवल ज्यादा है ग्राउंड वाटर का ना, द जोन ऑफ सैचुरेशन मीन्स कि जहां पे ग्राउंड वाटर ज्यादा है, वहां पे जोन ऑफ एरेशन में कन्वर्ट हो जा रहा है. सो डिजास्टर्स इम्पैक्ट क्या है? कैन एनीबडी टेल मी वेरी वेरी वन लाइनर आंसर अबाउट दैट? व्हाट विल हैपन if the groundwater zone of saturation becomes zone of aeration? What will happen? अभी 2 दिन पहले का न्यूज है, आपने पढ़ा होगा शायद न्यूज़पेपर में. लैंडस्लाइडिंग. यस, इन दी यस, आई कम टू दैट पॉइंट आल्सो. लैंडस्लाइडिंग और कोई बताएंगे? अभी 2 दिन पहले मैंने देखा, अभी चलते फिरते मैंने देखा है किसी न्यूज़पेपर में कि दिल्ली एनसीआर
Sir,
की.
actually, there was a good morning, sir. Actually, there was a report by IIT Bombay and Cambridge that
यस.
in Delhi they have found around 100 hotspots where of course, there is a land subsidence
यस.
due to the kind of a withdrawal of groundwater.
एग्जैक्टली
Yeah,
एग्जैक्टली.
thank you, sir.
यस यस यस. थैंक यू वेरी मच. मे नो योर गुड नेम?
Sir, I am Pinaki Dasgupta.
Okay, yeah, Mr. Dasgupta, you all are familiar. You all are the participants of online courses,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
So, see, this is one of the dangerous impact of the excess withdrawal of groundwater. You know, when the groundwater zone of saturation is converting to zone of aeration, तो वहाँ क्या हो रहा है? वो नीचे में बिल्कुल एयर है। अब जो जोन है जहां पे आप लोग देखते हैं ना गन्ने के अंदर रस रहता है, अगर उसमें से आप रस निकाल देंगे तो वो क्या होगा, पोरस है, एवरीवेयर देयर इज एयर, then what will happen due to increased pressure, directed pressure, that the land will be subside. So जो land subsidence है दिल्ली में एनसीआर में, that is not but due to the excess withdrawal of the groundwater. अब हम excess withdrawal कैसे कर रहे हैं इसमें? We are withdrawing water not for the household consumption but for the industrial use also. Industrial withdrawal बहुत जाता है, you know. Just think of the withdrawal from the Coca-Cola factories. जो soft drinks के factories हैं, they are mostly dependent on the water, the groundwater, and they are using that water for packaging industry in the water, making water bottles or like that by filtration. So they are, the rate of withdrawal is more as compared to rate of recharge. That's the reason why Government of India and Government of Delhi NCR has made it mandatory. Government of Delhi NCR ने mandatory किया है इसको कि आपको रूफ टॉप रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग करना है, आर्टिफिशियल रिचार्ज करना है एवरी लोकेशन पे, इन 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 एवरी सोसाइटी, रेजिडेंशियल सोसाइटी। एंड ऑल्सो मोर ओवर, जो जो गवर्नमेंट स्कूल्स हैं, आपके प्राइवेट स्कूल्स हैं, उनके लिए भी मैंडेटरी किया गया है कि दे हैव टू क्रिएट अ यू नो artificial recharge pit in their premises also. They have to adopt the rooftop rainwater harvesting, and they have to make the recharge.
Sir, we lost your audio.
So we are unable to hear you.
Yes, sir.
Dr. Ranjan, I'm sure there must be some technical glitch. Sir, if you could log out and log in again, because we are completely unable to hear you. Sir, the PPT
Hello?
is clearly visible. Yes, sir. You are audible, sir. Loud and clear.
Yeah, yeah. Actually, all of a sudden, power cut was there. Now I have restored. Okay, so now I hope I'm audible and visible to all of you.
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, sir.
ओके थैंक्स। सो जो जहाँ पे अभी अभी मैंडेटरी किया गया है, उसी तरह से देश के और अन्य भागों में भी ना इसको मैंडेटरी किया गया है कि दे हैव टू मेक द रूफटॉप रेन वाटर हार्वेस्टिंग एंड आर्टिफिशियल रिचार्ज मैंडेटरी फॉर देयर इंस्टॉलेशन, राइट। और अभी एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट डेवलपमेंट हैज टेकन प्लेस दैट द सेंट्रल ग्राउंड वाटर बोर्ड has constituted a central groundwater authority. So authority has, made it mandatory for all the industrial establishment and the residential complexes to take a NOC from authority, whether they have made the artificial discharge or the rainwater harvesting in their premises or not, and what are the configuration or the dimension of that. Now, almost 100% of the groundwater has been withdrawn from parts of Punjab, parts of Haryana, Gujarat, North Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Rajasthan. So they are now the groundwater scarce states. And also the groundwater pollution is all adding the severity. This is also one of the huge, consequential problem or due to climate change also in a way. कि ग्राउंड वाटर पॉल्यूशन के कारण अभी नॉट ओनली इन दिल्ली एनसीआर but every part of the country is facing such kind of problem. So when we talk about the Indo-Gangetic Plain region, na, so in a certain level of the groundwater, na, there is the arsenic pollution. The level of leaching is there in certain level of water table, and they are creating pollution of arsenic pollution in the groundwater. Similarly, arsenic pollution is also in the fringe area of the Yamuna belt. So यमुना के किनारे जितने भी वेजिटेबल्स ग्रोन हो रहे हैं, अभी एक रिसर्च भी आया था, आपने देखा होगा, अगर आप गूगल पे भी टाइप करेंगे ना तो विल फाइंड दैट रिसर्च पेपर अवेलेबल फॉर यू, दैट कि जितने भी जो वेजिटेबल्स ग्रोन हो रहे हैं अभी यमुना के जो कोस्टल रीजन्स में, जो जो फ्रिंज एरिया है, जो बैंक है, वो दे आर द सच वेजिटेबल्स, स्पेशली रेडिश, टोमेटोज, उनमें ना आर्सेनिक के कुछ कुछ कंटेंट्स पाए गए हैं, कुछ हाई अमाउंट ऑफ कंसंट्रेशन इज देयर, so there is a chances of the arsenic pollution in the region also, that needs to be attended very seriously. So how to mitigate the climate change? So there are 6 components of good climate change risk management. One is the climate risk assessment also. You need to assess the priorities and when planning follow-ups. Then addressing the consequences, integrating climate change in programs and activities. Like you will have to address the consequences in terms of disaster management, in terms of community risk reduction, healthcare, food security, water and sanitation, migration conflicts, etc. Then raising awareness. So you need to make awareness programs, conduct awareness programs like Mahatma Gandhi Institute of Combating Climate Change is one of the prime institution in Delhi NCR. They are also creating impacts in terms of awareness. Then establishing and enhancing partnerships, international advocacy, research and documentation. They are some of the components of better, climate risk management. What's being done now to reduce our emission? Wind power, solar power, fuel efficiency, इलेक्ट्रिक कार्स अब आ गए हैं आपके यहाँ पे, सोलर पावर है, विंड पावर है, इन चीजों पे बहुत ज्यादा ध्यान दिया जा रहा है। हाँ, आप अगर स्टैटिस्टिक्स देखेंगे तो अभी देश में बहुत सारी कंपनीज हैं, बहुत सारे इंस्टीट्यूशंस हैं जो विंड पावर पे, सोलर पावर पे बहुत ज्यादा फोकस कर रहे हैं। Right. What simple things you need to do is that turn off your computer, TV when you are not using it. Take shorter showers. Heating water uses energy. And then you can make your room cool by closing the blinds, shades, turn off. So these are some of the fundamental things that you can take care of that. Then coming to a very important point about the weather station. And you know how weather station is creating the positive impact on the climate change adaptation is that अभी कई राज्यों ने इसको एक बहुत बड़े प्रोजेक्ट के रूप में अडॉप्ट किया है, लाइक पब्लिक प्राइवेट पार्टनरशिप प्रोजेक्ट। आईएमडी ने बहुत जगहों पे वेदर स्टेशन लगा रखे हैं और वेदर डेटा को शेयर करती है गवर्नमेंट के साथ। तो वेदर का जो वेदर फोरकास्ट है, वेदर डेटा का जो शेयरिंग है, लाइव वेदर डेटा, वेदर फोरकास्ट, वेदर एंड हिस्टोरिकल वेदर जो भी होते हैं डाटा, उन सभी का ये जो बेस है ना, वो है वेदर स्टेशन। So you can see this is the main component of weather station is like that. There are these are sensors like anemometer है जिससे आपको wind direction, wind speed आपको पता चलता है। You know ये जो tub type structure you can see is the rain gauge, and this is the mind, this is the brain of the AWS, जिसको कहते हैं हम data logger. So data logger mean all the data is accumulated here, and they are transmitted to the ground station through SIM communication. So there is one sensor called the ATR sensor, atmospheric temperature and relative humidity sensor also. So there are solar panel also. Solar panel से क्या होता है, उनको पावर मिलता है। तो एक कंप्लीट इंडिपेंडेंट एक सेट है वेदर स्टेशन। सो इसके थ्रू आप you can record the vital weather parameter in a particular location. You need not to visit there more often. पहले क्या होता था कि लोग जो जो आईएमडी वालों ने इंस्टॉल किया करते थे, वो क्या होता था, मैनुअल होता था कि हर रोज सुबह में शाम में कोई जा रहा है, जाकर वहां से फिर डेटा को रिकॉर्ड करता था, वो लेकर आता था, उसकी सिमुलेशन होती थी और फिर उसको शेयर किया जाता था। अब ऑटोमेटिक वेदर स्टेशन का जमाना है। आप इवन डिस्टेंट लोकेशन में भी आप जाकर वहां पर लगा दीजिए, इंस्टॉल करके चले आइए, एंड solar panel is creating power, and the CDMA same is creating, communication safer, and in that way they are creating great impact in the country. अभी आप अगर इस पे आप इस पे अगर डीप स्टडी करेंगे तो यू विल फाइंड कि बहुत सारे स्टेट गवर्नमेंट ने ना एक पूरा नेटवर्क ही लगाने का प्लान किया है कि इट्स अ प्रोजेक्ट नॉट ओनली इन डिजास्टर मैनेजमेंट बट इन एग्रीकल्चर आल्सो। एग्रीकल्चर में भी एक बहुत ही एक वरदान है देश के लिए वेदर स्टेशन। तो क्या है दैट सेव्स टाइम एंड एफर्ट, automatic recording and transmission of weather data from remote locations, data communication takes place through GSM, GPRS, SIM, records components like temperature, rainfall, relative humidity, wind speed, wind direction। तो ये जो 5 पैरामीटर है, टेम्परेचर, रेनफॉल, relative humidity, wind direction and wind speed, these 5 parameters are vital to any kind of weather parameter and in a way climate parameter। तो उसका कंपोनेंट है सोलर पैनल, रेन गेज, एनीमोमीटर, एटीआरएस सेंसर, सोलर रेडिएटर, डेटा लॉगर, एंटीना। These are the component. So because the time is less, I will just run through this. So data logger is called the heart of the weather station। और जो डेटा लॉगर में बेसिकली क्या होता है ना कि सारी इंफॉर्मेशन कलेक्ट होते हैं। तो अब आपके मन में क्वेश्चन आ रहा होगा कि अगर किसी कारण से अगर सोलर पैनल नहीं काम करता है तो हाउ दैट विल वर्क। सो दे विल स्टोर द डेटा, दैट द डेटा स्टोरेज इज आल्सो देयर एंड there is a memory card there, insert inbuilt memory card, so that saves all the data either in its own memory or in the memory card। Power supply is also through the solar panel, and communication through the communication network protocol। तो इसका एक खूबसूरत पार्ट ये है कि आप इसको कहीं भी लगा सकते हैं, माउंटेनस रीजन में, नॉर्थ ईस्ट के रीजन में, inaccessible areas में you can establish that। So the power supply is also there। So that how this is a kind of the details of the rain gauge। So कई जगहों पे होता है क्या ना, एक वेदर स्टेशन जो होता है ऑटोमेटेड वेदर स्टेशन अप्रोक्सीमेटली 12 किलोमीटर के रेडियस को कवर करता है। So ideally what researchers used to practice is that in one location they used to put one automated weather station and 2 or 3 rain gauges they used to install in here and there in the 12 kilometer of radius। So ये जो rain gauge आप देख रहे हैं इसमें ना, this is called the tipping bucket type ना। So here in the right hand side you can see this is the tipping bucket। So there are 2 sides। So if one side is saturated, so that tips to the bucket, the water goes, and after tipping that bucket, that goes to the bucket, and that sensor used to read the amount of rainfall। So there are 2 kind of rain gauge, one is called the non-recording type and second is called the recording type। I'm just showing it to you। So this is called the ATRS sensor, atmospheric temperature and relative humidity। So radiation proof होता है ये, तो एक सील्ड में रहता है, तो ये इससे that gives you an idea about the temperature and humidity। So wind speed कैसे measure करते हैं? With the help of anemometer। So in kilometer per hour or knots they used to measure, and that is useful in designing runways at airport, windmills, wind-based manufacturing units, vulnerability assessment also। तो कई बार क्या होता है ना, अभी कुछ एयरपोर्ट्स वाले जब डिजाइन करते हैं अपने रनवे को ना, दे यूज टू अंडरस्टैंड हिस्टोरिकल विंड डेटा, wind is blowing for which side to which side, and what is the amount of wind किस तरह से फ्लो करता है और कितना फ्लो करता है। So in that way they feel it comfortable to design the airport। I mean कि किधर से टेक ऑफ लेने की जरूरत होगी, किधर से that can be the landing thing or like that, the orientation of the airport will be there। Then एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज मैं आपको शेयर करूं, लास्ट लाइन इज दैट द जनरल एनीमोमीटर जो होता है दैट कैन मेजर विंड स्पीड अप टू 50 मीटर पर सेकेंड, बट व्हेन यू यूज द अल्ट्रासोनिक एनीमोमीटर ना, दैट पर सेकेंड। सो जो साइक्लोनिक एरियाज है ना, वहां पे अल्ट्रासोनिक एनीमोमीटर लगाते हैं हम। So this is called the wind direction measurement. So there are the wind shock and wind vane, wind shock and wind vane, sorry. And data flow किस तरह से move करता है weather station में? So it's a weather station data, temperature sensor, oil sensor, rain gauge, wind sensor, and through data logger that goes to modem, and but through the communication channel that goes to the central server. हाँ, अब सेंट्रल सर्वर में आने के बाद उसकी क्वालिटी चेक होती है कि जो डेटा आ रहा है उसमें कुछ एनोमली तो नहीं है, कुछ प्रॉब्लम तो नहीं है. एंड बाय यूजिंग दैट क्वालिटी चेक डेटा, अगर यहाँ से वो पास हो गया, तो बाय यूजिंग वेरियस चैनल they are sent to various clientele group or various stakeholders. हाँ, be it the private, be it the government, दोनों का प्रोसीजर सेम है. इस तरह से वो करते हैं. Then this is the quality check को बताया कि VC होती है, that I have taken from a private channel with a partner. Then there are weather advisory issued through SMS, voice calls and like that to the subscriber. तो अभी आप प्ले स्टोर पे जाएंगे ना, तो we'll find a number of ना the weather services providers are also there. Now by using their mobile app, you can have vital weather forecast and weather alerts also with you. This is also very important point. When you talk about the clouds parameters ना, तो हम आप दूरदर्शन आप जो चैनल्स पे देखते हैं, क्लाउडी वेदर है, ओवरकास्ट वेदर है, पार्टली क्लाउडी है, क्लियर सनी डेज है, तो इसका मतलब क्या हुआ? This is the definition of such kind of thing. When we talk about the clear or sunny weather, na, that means there is no cloud. When you talk about the partly cloudy, that means clouds are covering half or less of the skies. If they are covering half a sky or less half, they are called partly cloudy. When we talk about the cloudy, that means clouds are covering more than half of the sky. And when you talk about the overcast, that means the clouds are fully covering the entire sky in your entire locality. So they are called the overcast. Similarly, when we talk about the rainfall parameters, so एक parameters है जब आप बात करते हैं, तो always try to quantify such kind of parameters when you talk about the rainfall. So when you talk about the very light rainfall, that means 2.5 mm or less is called the very light. When it called light rainfall means 2.6 to 7.5 mm of rainfall. Moderate rainfall means 7.5 mm to 3.35 mm. Heavy rainfall 35 mm or more. And cloud burst is very important. Talk about the cloud burst. 100 mm or more अगर होता है किसी area में in 1 hour, you can say the event as cloud burst. So this is called the real-time data, near real-time data and historical data. तो रियल टाइम डेटा क्या हुआ कि जब आपने वेदर स्टेशन में लगाया है, वहां से इंस्टेंटली अगर आपको डेटा मिल रहा है, तो दैट मीन्स कि you are getting the instant weather data. It's called the real time data. Near real time is there is a time lag of, say, for example, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, or like that. You are getting the data, the same data after 20 minutes of interval you are getting after filtration. That is called the near real time data. And historical data is for the last 10 years, 20 years, 30 years of data is available. Then it is called the historical data. So historical data is also taken care of by two media. One is through the installation of weather station or the rain gauges, and there are also satellite interpolation also through which the historical data is gathered. Now we talk about the weather forecast, then weather warning and inclement weather alert also. So forecast is a kind of intimation to you कि आने वाले 5 दिनों में क्या होने वाला है वेदर का कंडीशन, आने वाले 3 दिनों में वेदर का कंडीशन क्या होने वाला है, राइट, आने वाले 2 घंटे में क्या होने वाला है, इस कॉल्ड द नाउकास्ट. तो इस तरह से जब आप फोरकास्ट करते हैं, तो अगर आपने अगले 1 सप्ताह का फोरकास्ट कर दिया, सो एवरी डे यू आर रिवाइजिंग दैट विद द फोरकास्ट, with the with the changing kind of weather pattern. And after you have forecasted the weather, So every day when you are revising that weather forecast, you have come to conclusion that okay, there is a alarming weather condition going on currently, and that may create impact in the coming 5 hours or 10 hours or like that. So in that case, you are issuing the weather warning कि भाई अगले एक दिनों में अब इस तरह के साइक्लोनिक कंडीशन बन रहे हैं, तो यहाँ पे बहुत टॉरेंशियल रेनफॉल हो सकता है, टेम्परेचर ये हो सकती है, लाइक दैट. And when there is actually happening in the atmosphere, na, you can issue inclement weather alert. ये आप लोगों को बता रहे हैं कि now okay, now you that is sure कि it's a kind of inclement weather is happening in your vicinity. So you are warned to take precautionary measure or preparedness measure to combat disasters. So this is called the weather forecasting and flood forecasting. I will skip that. So when you talk about the weather forecasting, so nowcasting is the hourly forecast using lightning sensors, Doppler radars, and satellite images. When you talk about the short-term forecast, that is of 3 to 5 to 7 days. Dr. Lubna, you can have attention. आपने शुरू में इस चीज को लिखा था. When you talk about the medium-term forecast, that means 15 days forecast. The accuracy is 60 to 80%. तो आप भी Yeah. And when you talk about the seasonal forecast, that means for a complete season you are forecasting. That means monsoon forecast or like that. Then what is the impact of weather forecasting? Disaster management, agriculture, climate change research, climate change adaptation, early warning for agricultural community, marine and navigational warning, early warning for aviation, then early warning for general population like that. ये इम्पॉर्टेंट है द जनरेशन ऑफ वेदर फोरकास्ट कैसे किया जाता है. तो देर आर थ्री मेथड्स. आपको जो वो वेदर का फोरकास्ट मिलता है वो तीन मेथड्स. वन इज कॉल्ड द न्यूमेरिकल वेदर प्रिडिक्शन, दूसरा सैटेलाइट मीटरोलॉजी, तीसरा सिनॉप्टिक डेटा एनालिसिस. अब ये है क्या? जो न्यूमेरिकल वेदर प्रिडिक्शन है ना, वो बेसिकली मॉडल बेस्ड प्रिडिक्शन है, राइट. सो वेदर रिसर्च फोरकास्ट जो है मॉडल उसका यूज किया जाता है, दैट इज यूज्ड एंड रन ऑन द नेस्टेड डोमेन्स टू गेट प्रिसाइज फोरकास्ट. सो से फॉर एग्जांपल कि अगर आपने कोई ग्लोबल फोरकास्ट को उठाया, उसको आपने नेस्टेड डोमेन में डाल दिया ना, यू नो, इन एट द माइक्रो लेवल यू आर यूजिंग दैट, एंड दैट इज कॉल्ड द नेस्टेड डोमेन. And by running on the nested domain, you are getting the precise forecast for a particular reason, right? So daily routine forecasting of weather with the help of computer using the mathematical equations also. So the whatever you are getting in the daily routine forecasting is due to numerical weather prediction. So high speed computational facility is also required for that kind of thing. So in IMD or the various service providers, those who are providing weather services, you can see they are using that kind of high-speed computational facility. Second is called the satellite meteorology, means monitoring of radiation emitted by and reflected from the Earth system by satellite-borne radiometers. That will give you the kind of emission radiation, and with the help of such kind of interpretation you can interpret about the forecast, the weather condition of that particular area, and accordingly you can create the weather forecast. Third one is called the synoptic data analysis. So again, synoptic data analysis is nothing but the network of automated weather station data. तो उसका आप जो डेटा लेते हैं, जो नेटवर्क वेदर स्टेशन डेटा creates a synoptic data, and by analyzing the data and using the AI and ML, artificial intelligence and machine learning, you can create the weather forecast. I'll skip that. This is the forecast model for that. One is called the GFS and second the GFS forecast. And these are the kind of GFS forecast. How that creates the day wise, you can see what will happening for the day wise. This I have taken from the SkyMet, and for the last 10 days or 5 days, that gives you the forecast. So kind of cyclonic condition, how that is going to prevail in that particular area, like that. So when you talk about the forecasting in early warning for lightning and thunderstorm, so you can see the alarming figure of lightning deaths due to lightning in 2015. So number of deaths are more than 2,000 in 2015 due to lightning. Everywhere, be it Madhya Pradesh, Orissa, Maharashtra, Uttar Pradesh, Chhattisgarh, West Bengal, Bihar, are there. Everywhere you can see the lightning incidences are there. And what happens due to such kind of thing? This is called the step leaders. So the positive streamer is there on the lower atmosphere in the lower part of the cloud, and that uh, find its way to come to the ground through the negative streamer. And I will skip this because the time is less. You can see this is called the positive and negative streamer. So on the earth, there is the positive streamers. Sorry, I told you earlier about the negative streamer. So earth has the positive streamer everywhere, whereas the cloud behaves like a negative streamer in terms of lightning. So wherever they find it, find a positive streamer on the earth, they are attracted, and in that way the circuit completes and therefore lightning occurs. तो क्या होता है कि जो खेतों में काम करने वाले लोग हैं या जानवर हैं, मवेशी हैं, गाय हैं, वो इन लाइटनिंग्स के जो 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 चार्जेस हैं, निगेटिव चार्जेस, उसके लिए वो पॉजिटिव स्टिमुलस का रोल प्ले करने लगते हैं, एंड देयरफॉर that kind of charges are attracted towards them working in the field, and they are now completing the circuit, and therefore lightning occurs and thus casualty occurs. ये do's and don'ts हैं, some kind of do's and don'ts for lightning and thunderstorm. This I have taken from the SkyMet weather. कि क्या करे क्या न करे, just and kind of quotation for mass awareness कि what you should do or not. Then air quality monitoring stations are also there. Because the time is very short, I will just skip this and will tell you one very important, share with you, very important point is that some of the alarming figure of Are you able to see my screen now?
Yes, yes, sir. Yes.
Yeah,
What,
see.
what the
So, okay, so now this is very important data and facts which I have taken from the Google search is that, very important number one point is that the Earth Time Visualization Report was released by the World Economic Forum Sustainable Development Pact Summit. हाँ, वो उन्होंने ये स्टडी किया है कि there is a record increase in temperature is expected in the US, India and across South Asia for longer period of time. Or the national capital of Delhi and NCR may have 8 months a year with temperature averaging 32 degrees centigrade by 2100 2100 में by 2100 में more than 32 डिग्री सेल्सियस हो जाएंगे, है ना. एंड अभी क्या है, 6 मंथ के लिए रहता है ये एक्सटेंशन, that kind of high temperature. So you may experience 8 months of temperature in place of 6 months. So that is also cautioning the worsening global warming scenario in the world. So Delhi NCR people must be ready to deal with the 8 months of high heat condition. Second point, more than 7 lakh excess deaths in India annually are attributed to abnormally hot and cold temperatures related to climate change. अभी एक लैंसेट की एक रिपोर्ट आई है जिसमें कहा गया है कि ड्यू टू हॉट एंड कोल्ड कंडीशन के कारण डेथ्स हो रही है, एंड नियरली 6,55,400 deaths occurs because of extreme cold conditions and 83,000 due to scorching heat. This is also very alarming. Second point, this very, very important point is that, and very remarkable point I have taken is that, कि अभी क्या है कि as the world continues to get warmer in response to greenhouse gases, Delhi is getting colder, you know, and that has been a noticeable trends in the last 5 years. ये डेटा लिया है यूरोपियन सेंटर फॉर मीडियम रेंज वेदर फोरकास्ट का डेटा है, and that has been collected by the Meteo Blue is a company, and that has taken this data and for की 1.3 degree Celsius का drop है, you know, the mean annual temperature of Delhi has dropped by 1.3 degrees Celsius in the last 5 years from 2016 to 2020. And during this period, Mumbai's average temperature was rising 0.4 degrees centigrade, and other cities also, like Chennai and Bangalore and the Kolkata also. So in that way, Delhi has been getting colder, Mumbai is getting unusual rise in temperature. So it's very significant data. You can see. Now, Delhi NCR will witness the severity of heat waves and extreme rainfall, and that will also create the urban flooding, and also that is attributed due to the migration also, you know, the migration also, the people are migrating to the urban location, and they are creating the urban flooding. They are creating I mean, they are in a way creating more pressure on the urbanization, and in that way that is impacting more on the disasters. नेक्स्ट पॉइंट है जो डेटा है कि Delhi NCR will witness both direct and indirect impacts of climate change in terms of heat waves and high intensity rainfall. And the indirect impact you can see now in terms of dengue, malaria, migration of people from different parts of India to Delhi, and like that. So, ये जो चीजें हैं, डेटा जो मैंने आपको शेयर किया, they have to, अभी दिल्ली एनसीआर में एक बहुत ही जरूरी है कि क्लाइमेट क्राइसिस के लिए एक प्रिपेयर्डनेस प्लान बनाया जाए, राइट। एंड उसके बाद वैसी स्थिति में अभी ये जरूरी हो जाता है कि दिल्ली एनसीआर को प्राइमरीली अपना एक क्लाइमेट चेंज एडेप्टेशन प्लान बनाने की जरूरत है। एंड आई हैव लर्नड दैट दिल्ली एनसीआर इज आल्सो प्रिपेयरिंग, इज वर्किंग ऑन दैट, टू प्रिपेयर ऑन दैट. So
Definitely, sir. After your session, I would like to make few reflections on that. Thank you.
Yes, yes, yes. I would love to hear from you. So ये चीजें अभी चल रही है क्योंकि मैं when I was working in NDA में ना, we were working on the climate change policy, and many of the state governments were requested to submit the climate change action plan. So I am very sure that Delhi is also making such kind of plan. And someone was telling me that January 2022 was the target to complete that action plan. So I have no idea right now what is happening. So I'd love to hear from you also. So with that word, I would like to thank all of you for giving me opportunity. If you have any question, you can raise your hand or you can just ask to me.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjan, for such detailed presentation and also for in-depth understanding of impact of weather and air quality in the changing climate scenario of Delhi and NCR. Now I request the participants to kindly ask questions, or they can drop the questions in the chat box. They can also use the raise the hand option, and we will unmute them. So please feel free to use this platform and use this opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjan sir. This is Dr. Palakurti from Mahatma Gandhi Institute for Climate Change. It was a great talk, and we have all enjoyed, and we are all familiarized with the adverse impacts of climate change and climate-related disasters. Actually, people know much about natural disasters, but not essentially climate-related disasters. To touch every point, every sector that is prone to climate disasters. As you pointed out, the preparedness about the upcoming climate events. Actually, I would like to inform all the participants and your good self that the consultative meetings for preparation of state action plan and climate change has already been begun, and almost we are through to all the meetings. Yesterday, the meeting was supposed to be held under chairmanship of Principal Secretary Environment, Delhi. Due to certain reasons, it has got postponed, and Mahatma Gandhi Institute is one of the partners in that action plan as a field level institute for creation of climate-related knowledge as a knowledge center under the 8th plan, NAP, National Action Plan on Climate Change. And I think any time from now, that state action plan on climate change is going to be out for 2022 and 2030. There are huge plans, and all stakeholder departments, health, DDA, urban development, environment department, all revenue authorities, DDA, all are going to participate in that, and they have already supported their inputs and forwarded their inputs, and it is almost final in a drafting stage, and this will be submitted to Ministry of Environment for approval anytime soon. Actually, due to integrating this particular climate action program according to the objectives of NDCs, nationally determined contribution, but this program delayed because earlier it was prepared without considering those things. But additional inputs are being now prepared by Delhi government departments. And I am one of the nodal officers attending from Mahatma Gandhi Institute on behalf of the institute. We are finalizing this. Hope things will come clear soon. And once it is approved by Minister of Environment and Forests, that will be posted on website of Environment Department, Government of Delhi. With these words, I thank you, sir, and a lecture from your side.
Thank you.
We have S.N. Mishra, sir, who has raised hand. Sir, if you wish to ask any questions, please feel free.
Dr. Ranjan, thank you very much for providing such a deep insights into climate crisis and related issues with it, disasters, which I would call. My question is that as far as air pollution is concerned, in Delhi at least we have seen most of the time that air pollution has only come down by the divine intervention, that is the meteorological conditions. So Delhi, is there any plan how do we contain this pollution? Because Delhi, the atmospheric conditions are such, we are located in such a place that atmospheric conditions will always support no subsidence at this place, and thereby concentration of pollutants in the ground level and near ground surface. So is there any method to reduce the source itself, so that source of pollutions itself, so that the pollutants, we always do not look at the, God to intervene to get us the good air quality? Thank you.
Very good question, Mr. Mishra. You have raised this very good and pertinent point, which is relevant nowadays. Is that I was, when I was working with the SkyMet, we were working on a project of the installation of low-cost air quality monitoring station in across Gurgaon city and GMDA locations. And not only SkyMet, but other companies are also participating in that project, and they had installed the low cost QMS across the Gurgaon. Now, what was the utility? Along with the sensors, they had also installed the display unit. Display unit that was, giving the information about the live data on PM 2.5, PM10, and SOx, NOx somewhere. So the impact was that people were realizing the kind of pollution emitted in the city, in that area. The kind of pollution emitted by the vehicular pollution. There's some noise, no? Someone can mute.
Mishra ji has to mute his microphone because it's on.
Please, Mr. Ji, you mute yourself, and then I can come back to you. So now, what has happened in Gurgaon area? The impact I could see personally is that people were just staying to see the impact of the data which were floated in the display board, that okay, today is the PM 2.5, this one, PM10 is this one, and was also giving the reference point of AQI index, that whether this is alarming or not, or is the normal condition or not. So people were having a kind of idea about the gravity, the kind of pollution gravity, the pollution scenario in that location. And thereby they had the awareness to have to adopt some measures to reduce the pollution. Number one. Number two is that no, everywhere government cannot intervene to reduce the pollution. That is worthless everywhere. You cannot expect, and that is also not a the micro level solution when we talk about the community. So community has to adopt some kind of measures. So number one, in our country, the main problem is to assess the scenario, the gravity of the problem. People are not able to understand about the problem. What is the problem? What kind of pollution is there? As I told you, no, people don't understand about the indoor air pollution also. What to talk about the outdoor air pollution? So air pollution everywhere. People are shouting. What is the kind of pollution? What is the kind of the bifurcation of that kind of level of pollution? PM 2.5 कहाँ पे है, PM 10 कहाँ पे है, सॉक्स कहाँ पे इमिट हो रहा है, नॉक्स कहाँ पे इमिट हो रहा है. अगर आपके जो दो गार्बेज ये डिस्पोजल यूनिट्स हैं, एक ना एक भलसवा है और एक यहाँ पे गाजीपुर है. So what kind of gases are emitted there? That has to be taken care of. Secondly, जब तक आपके पास वो डेटा नहीं आएगा, you cannot adopt measures. So when you have the data, say if there is a more concentration of PM 2.5 in a certain location, in Y location there is more concentration of PM 10, in Z location there are more concentration of nitrogen oxides or like that. So accordingly, you can adopt measures like in certain areas there are sprinklers installed. They are subsiding the pollution level. There are exhaust fans also there. So the kind of we can also adopt some sort of the vegetational measures wherein we can plant more trees that can reduce pollution. Also we can think of determining areas which are having more level of pollution. And also I'll tell you one of the technical point is that the the kind of pollution, the measurement of pollution is referenced by the BAM unit. CPC is also practicing the same thing as a private institution also. So with the help of BAM, they are making a reference point of the every weather every air quality monitoring stations. सो जब तक मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशन का आप नेटवर्क नहीं बनाएंगे ना, यू कैन नॉट हैव ए आइडिया अबाउट द ग्रेविटी ऑफ द प्रॉब्लम. सो दिल्ली एनसीआर इज नॉट एन एक्सेप्शन. तो अभी मेरी एक सजेशन ये है कि गवर्नमेंट को इस पे सोचना चाहिए कि लो कॉस्ट एयर क्वालिटी मॉनिटरिंग स्टेशन को प्रमोट किया जाए, नॉट ओनली इन द गवर्नमेंट एजेंसीज बट इन द हाउस होल्ड ऑल्सो. लाइक you are selling the blower, you are selling the heater, you are selling so many kind of things, room heaters, or you are selling thermometer, room thermometer, like that. In a similar way, you can sell also low cost air quality monitoring sensors to be installed in houses, in the outdoor unit. That will give an idea about the rising air pollution. And whenever that kind of measurement will be made available to the people, na, the awareness will be also generated in terms of कि ओके अब ये, जैसे कि मैं आपको एक एग्जांपल बता रहा हूँ कि अगर आपके पास आप ओला देखते हैं, ओला में आपको ये पता रहता है, ओला वालों को ये पता रहता है ना कि एक्स एरिया से जाने पे उनको कंजेशन मिलेगा, ट्रैफिक कंजेशन. हाँ, सो इन अ सिमिलर वे डे विल कम कि आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस एंड मशीन लर्निंग के थ्रू एक मैपिंग हो जाएगी जिसमें देयर विल बी एन इंफॉर्मेशन कि आप अगर सफदरजंग वाले एरिया से जा रहे हैं तो यू विल फील मोर कंसंट्रेशन ऑफ PM 2.5 एंड PM 10, और अगर आप दूसरे एरिया से जाएंगे यू विल फील लेस. So people will prefer to go on the next area, in order to avoid the higher concentration of pollution level. So that will be the turning point of the kind of awareness and the kind of adopting mitigation measures. जहां पे ज्यादा है concentration level, they will feel कि वहां पे we should adopt some kind of mitigation measures. And why there is less concentration in X area as compared to Y area? Why not we adopt the same kind of measure in that area?
Thank you very much, Dr. Ranjan. No, you're right, but then I also feel that the whatever no Delhi government has got a graded response plan for combating pollution. They must have a very hardcore meteorologist in their no teams to tell them the atmospheric conditions, the likely wind conditions, wind speed. No, that is how they have to integrate so that because most of the time pollution comes down because of the meteorological conditions. They are the one which are enhancing. They are the one which are reducing. Like this year, January has been fairly clean so far as compared to last 5 7 years. So it's all because of the kind of conditions which are available. So that's my suggestion to the whoever is no part of this graded response plan, that we need to have no meteorologist, hardcore meteorologist who can understand this conditions. Thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you very much. Other question, please.
Sir, I had a question, but that's also partly answered by yourself in the previous submission. My question was that if the Delhi Action Plan on Climate Change, and for that matter, any action plan on climate change, does those take into account hyper-local and local empirical state data? Because of course, when we speak about climate change, it is more into national grid and feeding into the international policies and then coming back to the national action plans. But is there any chance by now, because we just had COP26 and we have now renew targets. So would it, and I completely buy your points of having low cost sensors, but is this also being taken into action by for example, Delhi is right now going to update its climate action plan, and so I was just wondering if that hyperlocal and local empirical data has been taken, and this also puts a larger question, which I also wrote, that probably we should have now public dashboard for citizens, not only scientists and researchers, but citizens to understand how climate change is affecting them, not just the AQI. AQI is just a part of it, but as your presentation nicely put it in a time in terms of sustainability and the 5 Ps, and also in the circular economy mode, that there are other factors like groundwater, then surface water pollution, then of course ozone. Ozone is something which we haven't really understood well, because stratospheric ozone is there with the ozone depleting substance act, and now the Ministry of Environment, Forest, Climate Change taking care of it. But ozone is also affecting our daily life. So I really don't see these kind of things. So I just wanted to point that gap and ask your expert opinion on that. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Mr. Dasgupta. You raised a very pertinent point. You know, unless you are not associating the larger community for making them aware about the situation, the kind of gravity of the problem, no? You cannot determine a viable solution, no? Isn't it? Putting a high cost sensor everywhere and the getting the data for your own use for the research internally will not serve the purpose at the end. My suggestion is that now let's make the community a party. They should also be made the party. They should also understand about the emission which they are emitting, in a way. I'm not talking about the lower atmospheric kind of pollution being induced by the atmosphere itself, but I'm talking about the emission generated by the people, the kind of the locality and the kind of their consumption pattern and how they are aggravating the situation. Unless you are not making them party, no, you cannot think of the solutions. So my suggestion to Dr. Palakurti is that, no, if you are making the climate action plan for Delhi, now you try to make community also the party for them to understand about the pollution. Low cost sensor is one part. No? They should also understand about the kind of pollution they are emitting and how they can control the kind of pollution emitted by themselves. The kind of slum areas, the kind of industrial areas, the kind of urban agglomerations, the high cost residential agglomerations. So the kind of emission will be different in different kinds of the agglomerations, and so on. There will be the solution. So it's a good suggestion by Dr. Dasgupta. We
I
can
mean,
take into consideration on that.
if I could come in, actually, Mr. Pinakini Das Gupta asked about integrating the data into the state, and actually all the relevant data is collected, weather patterns and vulnerability assessment reports and all. They are part of this particular state action plan and climate change. As you rightly said, there is a need to collect more and more data, but I think there is no depth of data resources, because the Delhi Pollution Control Committee has itself instituted a lot of stations to monitor weather of Delhi, and there are other organizations also, even universities and some other organizations also monitor this data, and real-time data is fed into the systems. That is not a big problem, as someone was saying, Mr. Singh was saying that only after divine intervention Delhi's weather improves. But at the same time, you see the stakeholders who are causing the pollution, they are not participating, they are not listening to the governments. If government department integrating the government department's efforts is becoming difficult for the government, as rightly said, there may be a possibility of creating a dashboard for public participation in this, but it's again suggestion which can be forwarded to the authorities. However, all the consultative stakeholder departments are being engaged in this preparation of the plan, who are matured enough to understand each and every aspect of the Delhi's climate and impending climate-related hazards, disasters. So I think everything is to be taken care by all the departments, all the eminent experts, even experts in the field are also involved in this. But definitely, suppose farmers are burning stubble every time. The IRI people have, in my programs, only tell that there is a developed technology which can convert these stubbles into a manure. It can be sold in market in UP, Bihar, and elsewhere for fodder. But people are not ready. They say that we have only a window of opportunity of 15 days of time to clear our fields. We can't do that much transaction. Therefore, we burn it. And traditionally, they have been doing it. So when the causes are man-made, the intervention is also has to be divine only. And definitely, it's not that government is not doing anything. Government is doing everything that is possible. But the thing is, still the stakeholders, the industrialists, the civil society, the farmers, and those who are contributing to the environmental degradation, the emissions, they have all have to come on board with the government and support its activities. Definitely, every detail is being considered by the government of Delhi in preparing these plans. I am aware, because I attend the meetings, and people of very top level in Delhi administration participate in the consultative meetings. They give their inputs, and they take it also from scientific community. These words, I think, Dr. Ranjan, you have highlighted very good points in this particular program, very close to my heart and to my institution. Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you very much to all of you.
Thank you, Dr. Ranjan.
So we'll be closing the second day of the 3 days online training program. We request all the participants to kindly join us tomorrow at the same date, or same day and same time. So on this note, I would like to end the session here. Thank you all once again.